Lynn Erdman. I'm the Executive Director for Carolina Breast Friends, and I'm so excited about our speaker today. She actually is a good friend, and I've known Mellisa for a number of years. Our paths have crossed as I was an oncology nurse, and Mellisa, oncology extraordinaire, but social worker and everything wrapped into one. She is currently the Director of Disparities and the Outreach Program at Levine Cancer Institute, which is, and their whole purpose is to eradicate the burden of cancer in underserved communities. So quite august and awesome job. So Mellisa makes great strides really everywhere she goes. And she has helped us with a number of our survivors here at Carolina Breast Friends when we've called and needed help. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And you're in for a treat because not only is Mellisa talented, but she's got a good sense of humor as well. So Mellisa, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Sounds great. Thank you so much to everybody for having me. And I will set the bar very low to begin with, and I'm sure to mess up my slides. So just be ready. I'm completely technically challenged. Can everybody see? Excellent, excellent. Well, what a pleasure for me to be here. These are weird times. These are exceptionally weird times. I think just even seeing people's smiles and seeing people's faces is now a luxury where before, we really didn't think about it. But today is just an hour for you all to just reflect on life and chaos and stress and how we deal with all of those things. I am a social worker by background, but I will tell you that this isn't a therapy session. I'm not going to give you a long list of to-dos, but I'm going to talk you through some of the chaos in my own life that I've worked my way through and found things that help me, that keep me going. So, but where I'm going to start it is I have to probably give you a reason why the title says, please pass the Cheez-Its. So as you can see, I've got my handy dandy box and it's the big ones. So back in March of this year, when all of the world began to shut down, we slowly ran out of groceries and we were trying to take our time, my husband and I. He would go one time, I would go the next. Now, let's be honest, in regular life, I'm usually the one that goes the first time, the next time, the next time, and the next time after that. But given our risk and given that we could be, at risk to get this COVID, we decided to alternate. So I sent my lovely husband, who I've been with since I was 17 years old, to the Harris Teeter. And on my list was Cheez-Its. And the man came home, everything else on the list was there, and he pulled out a single box. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Harris Teeter, but they sell these buy two, get three free. When he pulled out that single box, I broke into tears. What kind of human is this that buys only one box when you can buy two and get three free? What is wrong with you? Don't you know we all need the Cheez-Its? The Cheez-Its are an important part of our lives. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to your kids? And then I caught myself. What was happening? Well, I was dealing with stress, and it was manifested in my Cheez-Its, of all things. So this talk originated out of, and I think Lynn has heard me talk about this before, I do this talk quite a lot because I want people to understand that how we cope with things doesn't always look bright and shiny, and we need to recognize when we begin to fall apart over things like Cheez-Its, that we probably have to do a self-check. So we're going to talk through some things today. I want you to be comfortable and relaxed. So I heard someone say, pour your favorite beverage. So I hope you do that. I hope you have your comfy pants on. I've conducted more meetings in pajama bottoms than I care to admit to at this point. But this is really an hour for us to just kind of talk through life and what it's been like and what it continues to be like and how do we get through that. So the original title for my talk is called Pilates is for Peacocks. So what if you're an emu? And you'll understand a little bit more about what that means as we get through the process. But I'm going to give you a couple of things up front. I promise during this talk not to be an expert. I promise that I really am here as a woman who doesn't have all her ish together. I am just like everybody else, struggling to find my way in a really weird world. I have no hidden agenda, so I won't try to sell you anything. I won't try to get you to subscribe to a blog. I'm just here for you. And third, I promise that I'm always going to embrace and show you everything of me. So what you see is what you get. And I hope that when you leave here today, you'll feel just a little bit lighter, a little bit better, and a little bit more prepared for the next chaos that comes our way. So here's my disclosures. I am a card-carrying, big-haired, sarcastic, disorganized, forgetful, deeply committed, loving, committable, all-around ish-show. And I take that with me, whether it's at work or at home or with friends. I have nothing financial to disclose other than I have a child in college and the other one leaving in 3 weeks, so my wallet is generally empty. And today's talk is not a substitute for medical or mental health care. It is really more just for you to enjoy. Potential side effects, we all know there's potential side effects to everything. Side effects from today's talk could result in laughter, potential urinary incontinence secondary to number one, which tends to be one of my issues, stomach cramps secondary to number one, intense feelings of awkwardness, mostly on my part, a sense of relief, hopefully a general sense of well-being, and maybe a sudden urge to just keep on trucking, keep doing what you're doing. So I'm going to talk about something that happened about a year ago. I was invited as part of the work that I do, serving underserved communities. I was invited to speak at WBTV, and they wanted to do a short segment on a program that we call Project Pink, where I travel to underserved communities and provide free mammograms to women in need. And this spot on WBTV was going to be an opportunity for me to tell people how to support it, but more importantly, for how women in our community to access the program. So of course, reluctant as I am to do a short last-minute talk, I knew I couldn't pass up that opportunity. But it was a 7:45 a.m. spot. So I live in a part of North Carolina that is geographically challenged. What that basically means, that's a fancy term for traffic ticks me off on the daily. Of course, pre-COVID traffic is a little different than post-COVID traffic, but on a normal day for my area in the sticks of Mineral Springs, it takes about an hour and 45 minutes to get uptown. I live 16 miles. So when I agreed to do this spot, I immediately had this, this rushing panic in my brain. What time am I going to leave? Do I leave the house at 4:30? Do I leave the house at 5? How am I going to get there? Is my fuel tank full? Do I have any gas in the car? Oh gosh, I probably haven't fueled up. Now, I need to back up a little and say there are two kinds of people in this world. There are full tank people and there are empty tank people. I happen to be the empty tank girl who usually coasts in on fumes to the gas station, praying to the skies above that I get there. So that's always in the forefront of my anxiety. Do I have to travel on the highway? I call 485 the Devil's Highway. It is a spawn of 85, which is even worse. So traveling on the highway gives me anxiety. What am I going to wear? What kind of outfit can I put on that's going to look right on this news broadcast? What's slimming? What color is going to be not crazy? Can I get to my hairdresser in less than 48 hours? These are all of the things that flooded my brain in literally a 30-second period. Can I lose 10 pounds? Because if the camera adds 10 pounds, oh, Fluffy over here is in a lot of trouble. If I start keto tonight, can I lose 12 pounds by tomorrow? Thinking maybe I could look a little slimmer. And why in the world did I wait? Now remember, this is pre-COVID. Why did I wait to see my hairdresser until it looked like Pepe Le Pew had pooped squarely on the top of my scalp? I have black and white that goes from the back all the way down to the tip of my forehead. Other worries. Is it going to rain? Now keep in mind, this was July. July is something in my household we refer to as season of the Lion King hair. I have naturally curly hair. So when the humidity hits, this is all flat ironed for your benefit today. When the humidity hits, I can measure by how many knuckles deep my hair sinks over my finger. 2 knuckle deep humidity day, that's pretty bad. 3 knuckles, we're in deep trouble. Well, this is July. This is what I was destined to look like that day. This is just proof that I do ride around really on 2 miles of gas, much to my husband's anxiety. But it was a lot for me to consider all within a short period of time. So I knew, though, that it was important for me to get there. So I was going to have to swallow some of this anxiety and really do everything I could to be there and be present. How many of you, have that anxiety army that marches in your brain? Typically wakes you up somewhere between 1 and 3 a.m. in the morning, and they all abandon their post about 5 minutes before your alarm goes off, right? Just so you sink right back into sleep before you have to get up. Well, this anxiety army really exists in everybody's brain. We all have it. Our soldiers look different. They might wear different outfits. They might have different topics that they worry about, but we all have them marching. And despite the angst of my faithful anxiety soldiers who were always there, I decided to say yes. So I want to share with you exactly what happened the day I appeared on WBTV. I promise that everything I share with you is an actual depiction of that event. I will tell you there were no animals or humans harmed in the process of this event, though you might question that as we walk through it. So the morning of, I woke up with a start, like full panic, because my alarm didn't go off. Now, I don't know about you, but we have in my household what I call charger ninjas. They sneak in the middle of the night and they steal your cell phone charger, not caring how many little percents you still have in the top corner, and they plug their own phone in so that when you go to set your alarm, it doesn't actually go off. So I woke up 20 minutes late. Now, after that initial panic attack, I got going. I made my checklist: shower, overhaul, do my makeup, do my hair, flat iron it again, flat iron it again, flat iron it again. There's only so much you can do in July with a flat iron. But I knew that I had just enough time, if I calculated it right, to get from my house in Waxhaw all the way up to the other side to WBTV on 1 Julian Price Place. Now, I probably need to mention that the night before, I started a probiotic because I happened to tune into a social media unexpert and thought, maybe this will be cleansing. Maybe I'll appear slimmer. Well, how many of you have tried a probiotic? Let me tell you all. Somewhere between Waxhaw, 14 Hail Marys, 12 Dear Baby Jesuses, 142 Kegels, and one very unfortunate Harris Teeter bathroom, I skidded into the parking lot at WBTV. Now, when you go back to that list, I did shower, I did hair, I did makeup, but I forgot one very key ingredient in the month of July. In a sleeveless top, I didn't wear any deodorant. Can you imagine? So I thought about the closest store and realized it wasn't close. So I did the next best thing any good mom would do. I reached under my seat to feel around for what I could find. Diet Coke isn't gonna work. Crushed crackers aren't gonna work. Hand sanitizer. Hand sanity's gonna work. So I put 2 handfuls in, slathered it in my pits, and made my way and marched into the front office. Now, it was about 4 steps in the door that I realized that I had shaved that morning, and hand sani and freshly shaved armpits is generally a pretty difficult combination. But we made it work. It kept my eyes very focused on the prize. So the receptionist, bless her heart, as we say in the South, she did everything she could not to look at the mounting and growing lion hair that was beginning to puff up above my shoulders. We're talking 4-knuckle deep humidity at this point. So her mama must have raised her right. So she either was taught not to stare, or she was afraid if she looked too closely, she might get sucked into it like a house into a tornado. So she begins to give me directions to the green room. Well, how many of you have ever been in such an anxiety-filled situation that your ears literally plug? I watched her lips move. I nodded my head. I said, okay, yeah. And then I proceeded to fumble my way down 4 hallways, interrupted 2 meetings, and finally bobbled my way into the green room like an intoxicated emu. Well, I was breathless by this point, mostly for dramatic effect, but also because of my chubby unendurance. And I began to look around the room, and I had to stop and pause, because what do I see? I see in the corner, mind you, I'm sweating, my pits are burning, my hair is giant, and there stands former Carolina Panthers tight end, Greg Olson's size 0 wife. And not only is his size 0 wife standing there in all of her beautiful peacock glory, she's wearing a black leotard. And she's doing the segment after mine to talk about the benefits of Pilates. Where in the hell is Aunt B and her oversized zucchini? That's what's supposed to be on the news following me. Something funny, not something to make me feel crazy. And as soon as I saw her, I saw she was flanked on either side by 2 of the most beautiful brunette bombshells I have ever seen in my life. They looked hungry, but they looked beautiful. I did the only thing I knew to do. I sucked in my breath, I gathered my courage, and I bobbled my way over. Hey guys! They looked at me like I had 7 heads. Well, the universe was looking out for me because suddenly I was scooped up and brought into the studio to talk about my program. I don't remember 3 words of what I said. I hope what I said was the most important thing ever and that it reached the most ears ever. I was just trying to keep my hair from taking over the microphone at this point. So my 5 minutes of fame are over, and I slump my shoulders and I wander my way back out into the room where the beauties are. Now remember, this is her, this is me. Yeah, that's how she looked. This is how Wheeler looked. And I really began to feel all of my flaws, my imperfections, all of my worries, my anxiety. It all bubbled up to the surface. It felt like I could touch it, like it was a 3D tattoo on my skin. And I felt sad and discouraged and disappointed. And I began to make my way out of the studio feeling deflated. This all wraps back into this thing called anxiety. And a lot of us have it. But the thing about anxiety is we all try super hard to hide it. We try the best we can, even when we logically know that other people might have it. And it comes in the form of fear and restlessness and sometimes panic attacks or tension or headaches. And it really begins to infiltrate into all aspects of our lives sometimes. And it really tends to, at times, take away from the joy of the moment. Had I taken a step back to realize I just sat on the news and probably shared the message of the mission of what I do with thousands of women. How awesome is that? But all I could think about was, did I leave a sweat stain in the chair that I was sitting in when I walked out of the studio? But it's normal. We all have anxiety. It's just learning to manage it, learning some tricks and tools, and learning to talk about it and to laugh about it and to recognize it when it comes up. So I have a couple of different types of stress in my life. And I'm a very sort of visual person. I'm a person that likes to attach an idea to something so it makes sense to me. So there are 3 types of stress. There's acute, there's episodic, and there's chronic. And the way I kind of identify those, acute stress is like you wake up, you need to be at work, and you realize you didn't do the laundry, you have no clean undies. That's acute. It's short term. You eventually are going to get those undies. You're going to put them on, or you're going to go commando. You're going to go to work anyway. Stress is over, right? Doesn't carry on to the rest of your day. Your second one is what I call wedgie stress. Now, we're women. We've all had those panties that are too small. You get a wedgie. You spend all day long chronically annoyed by this little nagging irritation. You pull it out, it goes back in. You pull it out, it goes back in. It's an episodic stressor. And then you have your chronic, your granny panty stress. That just knowing that it's all enveloping, it's wrapping around you, it's become chronic, it has become all-consuming. And that's another type of stress that we deal with. Trust me, you'll never think of your underwear the same after this talk today. But what's the issue? What is the problem when it comes to stress? Why are we, if we're all stressing, why don't we talk about it? Well, I call this the I am fine syndrome. How many times have you called a friend and said, how are you? I'm fine. Or passed a coworker in the hall, how are you? I'm fine. Well, in my world, fine is a 4-letter word because it's really loaded. And there's really a lot more below that fine than what we'd like others to see. Why do people not want to share their anxiety and stress? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. There's Maybe a perceived weakness. I don't want people to think I'm not strong enough to handle what's in front of me. There's a comparison game. Well, I shouldn't be stressed. Mary's husband's in the hospital. Her daughter just lost her job. I don't have the right to be stressed over the fact that I don't have gas in the car. It's a comparison game. But the trick about the comparison game is we have to remind ourselves there's enough room for all of us to have all of the feelings. There is no limit on the feelings. Ain't nobody got time for that. You know, when we're in the thick of things, when we're in our normal pre-COVID life and it gets really busy, we don't have time. You know, we can't stop and think, gosh, I'm stressed. What am I going to do to manage it? And oh my gosh, I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious. We just muscle through it, right? And then you've got people that sometimes feel, you know, no pain, no gain. You know, I've got to tough this out. I need to bear the burden of my own stress. I don't need to tell other people about it. Or if I just mind over matter, if I just keep thinking positive, it's just going to go away. Well, that's a little bit like stacking your cans in your pantry and you keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And eventually the tower's going to topple and clonk you in the head. The same thing with your stress. And finally, the who cares? Who's going to want to hear about my stress? Who's going to want to talk to me about my stress? You know, who's going to be able to even help me manage it or even understand it? So a lot of times we hold that stress inside and it manifests in that anxiety. So we're going to talk through a couple of suggestions, some things that work for me. They might not work for you, but the really cool thing is you can choose to exercise them after today, or you can choose not to. But I find it's helpful sometimes to share with our friends and our family what we do when we get stressed, because sometimes it's something you haven't even thought about doing. So when I'm feeling particularly overwhelmed, the first thing I tend to do is really think about all of the impacts this could have and why I need to get it back under control. You know, if you look at what stress does, it touches your mind, your body, your spirit. It touches all of those aspects of your life, but we don't oftentimes look at how it's manifesting in symptoms. You know, are you having frequent headaches? Do you have muscle twitches? Are you super tired? Are you irritated? That can be stress manifesting through your body. Behavior-wise, are you more accident prone? Do you find yourself, you know, not able to sleep at night? Are you drinking more than you normally would? Of course, the pandemic has been cause for all of us to exercise our love of crushed grapes a little bit more than usual. But this is really, when you're looking in terms of stress, this is something out of the usual. Are you having muddled thinking? You know, do you have nightmares, or do you find yourself constantly with the negative answer? It could be because stress is beginning to manifest itself because it's unmanaged. What happens if you don't manage it? Well, the wheels fall off the bus, right? You just can't keep going at that level of stress without finding some tricks, tools, a way to refuel, maybe a spare tire, and maybe even someone to just help you carry your luggage to the next stop, right? So we'll talk about that too. Don't panic. It's going to be okay. We all stress, and there's ways to fix it. The very first thing that you can do, and the most important thing you can do, and the freest thing that you can do, doesn't cost a penny, is to breathe. And oftentimes when we're in a really stressful situation, we begin to hold our breath, right? We find ourselves, what position are you in sometimes? Are your muscles relaxed? Are your shoulders down? Are you breathing calmly? Are your feet and legs relaxed? Or are you holding tight and holding that tension? I'm going to ask for you to just do a quick breathing exercise with me. And it's something that you can do this first thing in the morning. You can do this at night when you wake up and that army starts marching. But it's a short 4-count breathing exercise. So I'm going to have you close your eyes. We're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and breathe out for 4. So close your eyes with me. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Out. 2, 3, 4. Repeat that again with me. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And out. 2, 3, 4. How do you feel? Do you feel like a millionaire? Do you feel 50 pounds lighter? Maybe not, But I promise you that's good benefit for your body. When you fill your lungs with that oxygenation, when you take the time to take care of relaxing those muscles, it will give you encouraged stamina. It will also help you relax at night if you're struggling, if your mind just keeps marching. You just keep repeating it as many times as you need to. The other trick that I learned very long ago is sometimes you have to do something physical with your body. So I want you to take your hand and take your fingertip on the top of your thumb, and I want you to ride the roller coaster all the way. Just keep tracing back and forth. Keep tracing. Make sure your fingers touching every surface. And you just keep tracing. When you're feeling particularly anxious, this is kind of the equivalent of twiddling your thumbs. It's a very soft, delicate touch for yourself. It's reminding yourself to be centered. And it begins to distract your mind from whatever it is that's driving you crazy at the moment. So that's another, just a little helpful thing that, is it going to cure the fact that you've got more bills to pay than you have money? No, but it's not going to hurt you, and it's going to bring you to a better place to deal with those things. Nope, no way, not me. So this is a tip where I'm going to tell you that I want you to not accept yourself. What did she just say? Did she just say don't accept yourself? What the heck is this lady talking about? Well, when we say things like, I'm just going to accept me, that's a suggestion that you're not enough the way that you are. And you are exactly enough the way that you are. So using positive self-talk to say things like, I'm good, I am awesome, today is great, I'm going to be fine, as opposed to, well, I'm just going to accept me for me. You're not a flawed person. You're perfectly imperfect the way you were created to be. So self-talk is incredibly important in setting the tone for your day. You matter. So this is really important in terms of, how do you talk to other people? Do you have the same dialogue with yourself? Oftentimes, we're our worst critic. So when we try on that bathing suit, we look at ourselves and think, oh, this is awful, I could never go out in it. Or we put food on our plate and think, that's too much, I shouldn't eat that. What I want you to do is think about, would you say those words out loud to someone you cared about? Would you say to a friend, well, you don't deserve that gift, that attention, that time. You don't deserve to sit down and relax, or you don't deserve to have that cookie, or you don't deserve for someone to be kind to you. You would never say those things to someone you care about. So you have to move yourself into that primary care position. I care about me, and I'm going to talk to myself and treat myself the way I treat people that I love, because I love myself first so that I can love others. So this picture is probably one of my favorites, not because it's my favorite delights, but it kind of is. But there's a lot of talk about self-care. And we hear lots of speakers talk about you have to practice self-care. You got to get a practice down. Well, practice suggests there's something wrong with the things that you're doing. And maybe there's nothing wrong with the things that you're doing. Maybe you journal. Maybe you don't journal. Maybe you don't meditate. I find that when I meditate, I'm much more anxious, so I don't do it. Maybe you go for long walks. Maybe you don't walk at all. That's okay. But maybe instead you like to pick up the phone and call a girlfriend and laugh or cry for 45 minutes. That's self-care. Maybe you like to kick your feet up and watch really indulgent Netflix, which sounds a bit like I'm doing a confessional, because I kind of am. But maybe you like to watch your favorite show. That's self-care. So don't be led to believe that you have to buy something or you have to subscribe to something in order to have good self-care. What you can do is look at the things that you're doing and see how they make you feel. And if they feel good, do more of those things. But don't feel like you have to have this special practice down, that you have to check off every box on the list. I remember at one point I had so many self-care things on a checklist that I was anxious and exhausted before I started the first one. So keep in mind, self-care can be a lot of different things for different people. So we stress about a lot of things. We stress about our family. We stress about our health. We stress about work. But what are those things? Why are we stressing? What is the root cause, and what are some of the things that we can talk ourselves out of not having as such a big stress to make room for the other things that are difficult? Well, in my house, keeping a clean house is a stressful thing. Ever since my first child, I've always wanted it to be just perfect, and when you have kids, your house is never clean, ever again. Amen. But we all stress about, oh, someone's coming over. I've got to make sure it looks perfect. Oh, I can't have people over tonight for dinner because I didn't clean the baseboards and I didn't vacuum the floor. This picture you see here is something in our house we call the laundry garden. Yep, members of my family go to the garden a couple times a week, pick what they want, and they leave it right there to continue growing. Now, this used to cause me tremendous anxiety. It used to stress me out that someone might see a basket full of clothes in my house. But everybody has a basket of clothes in their house. And maybe if we thought about the fact that we're all more alike than we are different, then we wouldn't have to burden ourselves with that stress. So I hope you have a laundry garden. I hope that your family picks it a little more frequently than mine does. But it's important to embrace it. It reminds me that there's life in my house. Now, back a while, it's probably been about 8 or 9 months ago, there was a shoe challenge on the internet and on social media, and it would say, what color is this shoe? Well, in my house, this shoe, it's not gray, it's not blue, it's invisible. This shoe has sat in the middle of my living room floor for the last 6 weeks. Everyone walks over it, everyone walks around it, nobody claims this shoe. Now, anxiety-filled, stress-filled me would freak out about this shoe. But now I look at the shoe and I move along. We have the same issue in our house with a dishwasher that disappears. Does anybody else have that problem? Just when your family gets close to the sink with those dirty dishes and the dishwasher's right there and they're about to grab it, it disappears, right? But the point is, we all have messes. We all have clutter in our corners. We all have dusty baseboards. It should not stop you from enjoying the relationships and the friendships and in welcoming people into your home, because I promise you, long after they leave, they're not thinking about, gosh, her toilet paper was going the wrong direction. Some of us stress about work. Some of us worry and have anxiety about work-life balance, especially now more than ever. We're all having to learn new technology. Just as soon as I got Skype down, work said, gosh, you got to switch to Microsoft Teams. Just as soon as I got Microsoft Teams down, they said, you got to switch to Zoom. And then somebody tried to Google Duo Me the other day. Well, let me tell you, I don't know what I'm doing. So we're learning new things all the time, and especially since the world has changed, and we're stressed about being the best we can be. Did I do enough at work? Did I say enough in a meeting? Did I not say enough in a meeting? We struggle to find balance. And do we stop when we get home? Now, even more important to caution is right now during a pandemic, when our days sort of melt into one another, where is the balance? When Tuesday feels like Saturday, which felt like Monday, which feels like Sunday, which is just like Wednesday was, all the days and all the times blend together. So it's really important to kind of take notice of, am I putting my work away? Am I putting away those things that I'm responsible for to give myself the time to decompress? And spirit. You see this picture and you see this lovely woman with her perfect posture sitting on a rock looking over the ocean, and all I can hear in my head is my grandma's voice saying, sitting on cold rocks gives you piles. But we really worry about our spirit. It's something that, again, we're trying to make sure that we have all those parts of that wheel together. Do I go to church enough? Do I go to the right church? It's been pandemic, I can't go to church. Do I pray enough? Am I praying the right things? Have I had enough quiet time? Am I connected? All of these things, again, create an anxiety space that we really could eliminate if we realize whatever you're doing is exactly enough. It is exactly as it should be. Our weight. These are my muffin tops. I'd show you the real ones, but you'd never talk to me again. We all have this, though. This is an issue that every single woman, whether she's a size 0 or she's a size 44, we've all worried about our weight at some point in our lives. And it starts very early, right? There's the Atkins diet and the South Beach diet, and there's the paleo diet, and there's the low carb diet, there's the sugar-free diet, there's the grapefruit diet. That was my mom's back in the 70s. There is the ice cream diet, the chicken nugget diet. I mean, there's a diet for everything. And we spend our entire lives missing out on the joy of food because we're so worried about labeling food as good or bad, right? How many times have you ever said, I ate so bad this weekend? Well, food's really not good or bad. It really doesn't have a personality. It's really just meant for you to enjoy. So if you ate the cookies, I hope they were good ones. It's about just looking at it from a different lens and looking at it in terms of a balance. That there's not a perfect size, and that we all stress about the same thing. Now, exercise. So exercise is another thing that we try to get perfect. And when we try to get it perfect because experts say you should do this amount per day, then we stress about it and we get anxious about it and we stop enjoying it. So I have tried the bar method, and I'm sure some of you have heard of the bar method. Well, this is one bar method I've tried. This is another bar method I've tried. This is the one that works best for me when it comes to a bar method. In all seriousness, exercise is another thing that should be a pleasure for you. And I'm not one of those crazy, like, I'm going to bike 60 miles today and then I'm going to bike 120 tomorrow. I'm not talking about that kind of joy. It should be something you enjoy. If it's taking a walk with your best friend, if it's dancing while you do the dishes, if it's walking up and down your stairs a couple times, whatever it is, that's exercise. That's good for not just your body, but that's good for your soul. So think about the next time you set out to develop an exercise plan. Does it need to be a plan? Does it need to be a regimen? Do you need to time it a certain way? Do you need to do it a certain number of days of the week? Or do you just go to a Zumba class because you like it? Or do you just take a walk in the neighborhood because, well, the trees are really pretty? I took a walk last week and I realized the trees are big and beautiful and breathing and waving at me, and not one of those trees cares what I look like or what size my pants are. So the reality check is this. We all are juggling a million things. You add a layer of pandemic on top of the million things that we're juggling, and you begin to get a sense of overwhelm. How am I going to make it through all of this? How am I going to manage all of these stressors? Well, the reality is you've got to just piece it apart, and you've got to look at yourself as enough in every scenario. And then when you find something new that you enjoy, you add that layer in. You've got to do what I call taking inventory. And by taking inventory, I mean looking at the things in your life that not only cause chaos and stress, but the things that really bring you the most joy. So I've told you, I worry about exercise and weight and work and spirit and am I giving and doing enough? But when I really take inventory, I see my messy closet. That is my actual messy closet, y'all. Everybody's got a messy closet. I get stressed about it, but then I realize it doesn't matter. Y'all are the only ones seeing my closet today. These are all of the books that I have been suggested by friends that I keep buying and stacking up. Yep, I do. I just keep buying them. I'm going to get to them someday. Could cause me stress, but I'm not going to think about that. I'm just going to decorate my nightstand. This right here, this little square, I call her a bee. This little square holds all the weight that I haven't lost, and that's okay. I'm not ever going to step on her again. I'm just going to set her in the corner and let her collect dust as she will. Bye, bee. These are my unpolished toes. Yep, actual toes on my actual foot. We have been in a pandemic, friends. There are no pretty toenails to be found anywhere for miles. But that's okay. This is not something that really is important, is it? This is my exercise equipment because at one point I was going to be Ronda Rousey. I was going to be like an MMA fighter. I was going to be slim and trim until I tripped over the pile and nearly broke my arm one day. So that pile has sat there ever since in my storage. But this is my daughter, the one who's going to leave for school in 6 weeks. And the mess she leaves in the sink, I'm going to miss it when she's gone. This is my sweet baby boy. He's not a baby boy anymore, but he'll always be my baby boy. But he'll be leaving too. This is my family. Now, did they cause me stress and anxiety and overwhelm? Absolutely. But I love them and couldn't do anything without them. Now, I'm going to pause quickly just to remind you of something. These are pictures that you look at and you see all the smiles. And a lot of us spend a lot of time on social media, and we see a lot of smiles and lives that look perfect. Caution. Everybody's life isn't always what it seems. The picture that you see with all four of us, that was following us having a separation. We had been together since we were 17, and we were trying to decide if we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. So every smile isn't always a happy, but it's okay. It's part of my inventory, and it's part of my life. My little brick dog, this little devil, creates more fun, more play. She pulls out every single toy. She never puts a single one away, but I wouldn't do a day without her. She's a part of that inventory for me. And my sweet Kelly, who we lost about a year ago. She's my boxer who used to create little hair dust bunnies that used to travel across the floor, and what I wouldn't give to see those dust bunnies today. So even if I stressed about them and didn't want people to come over because I had them, I'd give all the money I had to have them again. And my friends, you can't discount the importance of the relationships in your life, the relationships that you have with each other, the checking on each other. You know, I heard someone at the beginning check on someone else's daughter. That's priceless. Those are the things that we need to hang on to when we have stress and anxiety and overwhelm and we try to be perfect. So I want to take you back to that day at WBTV. And I want to take you back to me slunking my way out of the studios, feeling deflated, feeling discarded, feeling really just disappointed. I got to the end of the hallway and I had my hand on the door to exit, and I heard, Miss Mellisa, Miss Mellisa. And my first thought, of course, because I have an anxiety army, is, oh my gosh, I did sweat stain the chair. They're going to make me pay for it. My next thought was, you know, what did I leave behind? Did I leave a mess? My next thought was, they're going to tell me I'm never allowed in the building again, marching through my brain. But I turned around and I saw the most beautiful smile on the most beautiful woman. And as she got closer, I recognized her as Miss Gale. And Miss Gale had come up to me 2 years before at a mobile screening event. She was afraid to have a mammogram. And I sat with her in the parking lot for 45 minutes that day, and I talked her into it, and she was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer as a result. And she said when she saw me in that building, she had to get a hold of me, and she just started to hug me and cry and thank God for me. She said, I thank God for you every day, Miss Mellisa. And we stood and cried and cried and cried. So why do I tell you that story? You know, think of all of the weight that I went in there with and all of the stressors that I added to myself going in there with, and think of all of the burden I was dragging with me. It didn't matter to Miss Gale. It didn't matter because she cared about me for who I was. And if I had not been my imperfect, big-haired self, she might not have ever come up to me that day in the parking lot. So just keep in mind that you don't have to be the perfect polished package. You don't have to have everything right. You certainly don't have to have everything perfect in order to be good. You are enough exactly the way that you are. And with that, I will close and gladly take any questions that you might have.
Well, so far we don't have any questions because I think you had everybody completely mesmerized. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? You can unmute yourself since we don't have any questions in chat, and you can ask Mellisa a question.
Or share what you do with your own stress. How do you manage? What are the things that you do that kind of help you get through the day?
I do a lot of crafting. A lot of crafting. Yep.
That takes your mind to a different place, doesn't it?
Oh, it does.
Yep. Yeah. It helps to kind of tune out all the other, what I call noise, A lot of times we have a lot of noise going. Yep.
Yeah, I'm so lost in it. My husband has to say, get up. It's time to get up. You've been at the table too long.
I love
I
it.
feel like just catching up with friends, you know, having a good laugh with an old girlfriend. You know, just spending time with someone and talking, catching up is good for me.
Yep. Do y'all ever find it hard to tell someone you're having a hard time?
Oh.
Sometimes you just kind of keep that smile going that I'm fine, it's good, I'm taking care of everybody else. Sometimes we all tend to find ourselves in that position. But sometimes a little release goes a long way, and finding that friend to talk to, finding someone to just let all your words fall out on. I have to apologize to friends all the time. I'm sorry, I just vomited all my words on you, but I feel so much better.
Yeah.
I will show you one of the tricks my daughter taught me. So this is not to endorse drinking. This is a clear empty glass with my little brick dog, the Boston, and this is sparkly seltzer water. But she taught me that if you make things pretty, the ordinary things, wow, what a lot more pleasure I get in drinking all of my water for the day, right? If I put it in a cup and go, man, I got to drink 100 ounces of water today, or I put it in a pretty stemmed glass and I stick a little strawberry on it, I feel fancy pants when I'm drinking my water.
Or you can put it in a rainbow glass.
See? It's the little pieces, you know, just enjoying little nuances of our lives and taking the time to do it for ourselves because we deserve it.
Anybody else have any comments?
Mellisa,
Yes.
what were you, would you tell me again what you were describing when you were talking about after we did the 4-count breath, then you talked about, you were describing about doing something with your fingers. I lost that.
Oh,
what was that?
Put your hand up like this. Can you see my hand in the screen?
Oh, sure.
And I take my finger and I just ride the roller coaster.
Oh,
And
I see.
Think about how it feels as I'm tracing my finger. And when I'm super anxious, you know, I'm completely transparent. I have a ton of anxiety. So when I'm super anxious, just sitting and doing that repetitive motion again and again and again, it's kind of like the crafting. It kind of turns out that noise, and it's a gentle touch for yourself, and it's a kind of centering yourself back to reality. Something else that you can do, and I've taught my kids this as well, is you can do an inventory of your environment. So you look for 3 things that you can see, and you listen for 3 sounds that you can hear, and you reach for 3 things that you can touch. That kind of centers you back down when you're feeling really spiraled and out of control with anxiety. Same thing with your body, doing an inventory of kind of the tightness. Are my shoulders relaxed and back? I tend to do this a lot. My elbows and my ears and my shoulders all meld into one, but I have to sometimes go, where are my shoulders? All right, girls, the girls are down. We're doing good. You know, where is your back? Are you flexed tight or are you relaxed? And doing that a number of times throughout the course of the day, you'll be surprised, 1, at how much stress you carry in your body, but 2, how much better you feel when you begin to let it sort of relax in itself.
Yeah. One way I calm myself is I've got this thing, and I'm sure you've all seen it. It's kind of pronged, and it goes down over your head and back up and down again. Oh my God, that is so relaxing.
That's almost like being at the hairdresser, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's even better to have somebody else do it for you. You're like, oh.
Yeah. One of the other things that I think we have to be sort of tuned into is during the pandemic, we've all been very isolated, right? So, you know, where we took for granted that we might see, you know, 15 of our friends in any given week, we're now seeing the same 1 or 2 people, or sometimes no people at all. And that can really take a toll on your mental health. I do worry, you know, as we kind of get to the other side of this, how people will begin to process some of that and work through that. Because I've even noticed, you know, at work, I wear the mask, of course. I smile at people all day long. They can't see me smiling. But I've noticed that people have stopped even making eye contact. People they change their positioning in an elevator. They turn away. They don't say good morning. It's almost like it's translated into, I have to keep myself in a capsule in order to be safe. So, just be mindful that it's okay for you to have a crappy day. You have lost a lot in the last couple of months, and you're dealing with health issues on top of it. So if there's a day when you wake up and you're in a bad mood, that's totally all right. Let yourself have that time. It's a lot to manage all of these things all at once. I don't know that we've had a calm moment since January the 1st. And I don't know when one will come again, but just staying tuned into the fact that you've had losses and that you deserve some grace for yourself.
So I also like to listen to music. That is,
yes.
for me, that helps to reduce stress. And sometimes it's like at night before I go to bed, I found on Pandora a network it's like sleep music. It's soothing, and I love it. It helps me a lot. And then sometimes it's classical music in the morning. And then sometimes in the afternoon, if I have to clean the house or I need something upbeat. So it could be like some old rock and roll or something like that. So music, it's amazing how music can transform me and my mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a lot of research that shows listening to music or even singing along with music creates chemical changes in the brain and actually helps to release endorphins. And it's very therapeutic. If you can get that and bring that in, you feel those chills and you get that energy going and it helps you Swiffer the floor better. Absolutely.
I was going through a period of stress with a family member last year. And so I thought, man, I'm having a hard time sleeping. So I looked for guided meditations, because when I went through breast cancer 32 years ago, I listened to Bernie Siegel. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I remember the meditation that he did and how much it relaxed me. So I found this guy in Australia named Jason Stevenson, and his deep Aussie voice. I mean, I'm right there in the moment with him, and I don't notice anything else. So guided meditation works for me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do guided meditation. In fact, I'm joining you from Michigan because we also have a second home, a winter home in North Carolina. That's how I found the Carolina Breast Friends. But I'm involved in a cancer support community of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we have a group of guided meditation, and we used to meet every week at the center, but now we meet on Zoom twice a week, and it really helps tremendously. And it helps being part of a group, because even though we're not seeing each other, we see each other on screen. And I can recommend that really highly. And there's a really good app called Calm, CALM, which has all sorts of, again, it's mindfulness meditation. It's not just kind of meditation, it's specific mindfulness meditation. It helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another one called Headspace that's also pretty good, because it starts you off at like 3 and 4 minutes at a time. So if you have the kind of brain like mine that can't handle the full 15, 20 minutes, you can start with little tiny snippets. And recognizing that there's no right way to do meditation. You may not have some transformative moment where sudden golden light shines upon you. I think we sometimes build up in our minds what things, what the result is supposed to be. It's really just, checking out for a while and doing something for yourself. I think that's where, we get the biggest benefit from it.
Yeah, the teachers in my group from the cancer support community point out that even if you have trouble focusing, if you focus for 1 minute, that's a minute that you wouldn't have focused for if you didn't do it.
True.
Melissa, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you so much for your sharing. And it was quite inspiring and etc. But what I like to share with you all, what has been helpful to me, just know that we're not the only one that is experiencing the stressful moments during this season. What I find myself doing between 10 and 12, honestly, when I get up with a purpose, and I'm reaching out to those who are shut in like I am, who are high risk, just dropping a little text note just to say, I'm thinking of you, or give them a call just to let them know that they are thought of. And you'll be surprised, they have something to share too that is uplifting for you. So that's, and it takes me throughout the day until I go into my meditation or my next thing I want to do, project I want to do for that day. And my day is over with. I made it through.
Good.
I think that's a
Again,
great
I say
point.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Service to others, that helps to fill the cup for us too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When this pandemic started, one of the first things that our team did, because all of our events are community focused typically, and of course that got shut down, we pulled together, got a grant, and started delivering groceries to our cancer patients, the ones who were at the highest risk for getting the infection and of course not doing well. So our post-transplant or pre-transplant patients, new surgical patients, or even just those that didn't have the money to get the groceries that we needed, and we delivered. We would get all of the things that they needed and we drop it off on their porch. And there were days going home where I would get a text back from the patient, because there was never any contact between the two of us except for the call and the text. I would get texts back from people that just said, thank you so much for thinking of us. We felt like we were alone. And so, they felt like they had support, and I felt like, wow, that filled me up by being able to touch somebody else's life. So I think there's a lot to be said for taking care of people, and especially those that are kind of locked down and don't have the contact from other people.
Does anybody else have a comment?
Well, I got to say, laughter is one of the best stress busters, and I was laughing through most of your
Me too.
presentation. So,
Yep.
every time I see that commercial, that insurance commercial with the emu, I'm going to think about you,
Yeah.
Melissa.
Exactly.
Well,
That was
good.
so funny.
Yeah. The laughter was
I-
great. It's probably a good thing we were all on mute, because you would have you wouldn't have been able to talk, because I think we were all chuckling and enjoying that. So
Good.
we'll all have a better evening just because of it. So
Yeah.
Good.
Very
You can
true.
definitely see it's one of my coping mechanisms. It's one of the things that gets me through. If I can't laugh at myself at least 10
Oh.
times a day,
For sure.
don't take yourself too serious ever. There's always something to find humor in. So
I want to,
Melissa.
I want to say thank you, and to Melissa and to Carolina Breast Friends for staying in touch with me, even though it's long distance. It was really a good session. Thank you.
thank you.
It was so enjoyable.
It was.
I'm really grateful. Thank you all for taking the time and hopping on and listening to my crazy ramblings. And if there's ever anything that I can do to be of support, or there's information or guidance that you need, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm at Levine Cancer in Uptown. I'm there all the time. So, and Lynn knows how to get a hold of me. So if anything ever comes up or I can be of support, but I hope that all of you keep laughing, and I hope that you all stay safe in the coming weeks and months, and continue to prosper and have health and lots of love.
Thank you.
And you too.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy your daughter
Yeah.
over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.